Welcome back to the channel. Turns out the tenant, he's not playing ball. Warranty work, should we say, for these lights, which have been an absolute nightmare. This customer is actually a subscriber, and I'd like to say he took note. Thanks for my tea. So as you can see, this is an amazing house, but we've got a problem. Would I be fitting these ground lights to any other job? The answer is no. So if you're new to this channel, I really appreciate you clicking on. Out of the millions and millions of other channels you could have chose, you chose my one. So thank you very much. And if you're enjoying this so far, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. The link is in the corner, and yeah, help the channel to grow and build this amazing electrical community that we've got. Good morning, you wonderful lot, and welcome to the channel. So today we are back at one of our massive builds. We have had a little break over Christmas, and while we've waited for the renderers to sort all the outside stuff, which has led for me today to be getting on with a few little snagging bits inside, also trying to get on with some of the outside work too. So just a little brief breakdown on this job. So we have done a kitchen extension, a loft conversion, a garage conversion, and a little bit of a rewire on the house. So today I've got to try and get on with as much as I possibly can. So we've got limited time on what we can do. So one of the first jobs that we're going to do, we've got a couple of downlights which are playing up. They are smart downlights, and in fairness, what's happened, there was a bit of a pipe fitting leak, and we think it's damaged one of the actual lights itself. So we're going to swap those out. So there's a couple of little bits like that. We've also got some of the original up and down lights, which the client now wants fitting onto the back. So we've got 2 out of the 3. As you can see, you can see where this job's going, a little bit of a bitting and bobbing job. I've also got a load out the front to do, but obviously we're not going to be able to sort that out. But I have got the dust till dawn sensors that I've got to do, so we can get those tied up on the far end. And yeah, there's a lot to do, and it doesn't seem like much, but there is. There's also, we've got 2 powered mirrors, which is sitting down in the hallway right now. So we've got 2 powered mirrors, which have been a little bit of a nightmare, I'll be honest with you. So I've got to set up a test rig down here for them to make sure that all the units come on at the right time. Oh, what a nightmare. So one of the jobs that the client wants, so we've got some undercabs lights that we never really could get dialed down on what they actually wanted. So a big part of it is they wanted the Wi-Fi enabled undercab lights, and for the manufacturer to match obviously what we've already got with everything else, we just couldn't. They're not ready yet. They're in production, but they're not ready yet. So for now, in the interim, what the client's asked, because you might see there's a little bit of a bunch of cables that are up there. So what we're now going to do, the client's asked me this morning, says, look, can I put a double socket on there, because they've found an alternative that they're going to put on at a later date. So that is the first job we're going to do. So we're going to get that pattress mounted up there. So now is the time to ask you for a favour. So if you have not yet subscribed, please make sure you do. The link is in the corner. Turn your notifications on, and you will get a little notification to say that we have dropped another quality electrical video. Thank you very much, and get back to the video. So the customer, what they wanted to do was have full colour changing LED lights underneath the unit. Now, the manufacturer, because they've got them all throughout the whole house, and the manufacturer that has those don't make the same thing. So they didn't want loads of different apps. That's why we're ending up having to do this. So it's not ideal, I grant you, but it's the best solution. So what I'm going to do is, so this cable up here, the clients have just put it in a bag while they're painting and all the rest of it. So what I'm going to do is try and lower it down and then sit it on the top of the unit, because then at a later date, if it does change for whatever reason, they can, you know, it's just a little bit smarter. But what it will mean, there'll be a little bit more damage, bit of filler to do, but it is what it is. There's not a lot else you can do with the situation. So let's get her under wraps, and I'm going to put a sheet down just to make sure it's all clean on there, because obviously it's a lovely brand new kitchen. Okay, so believe it or not, that's actually really, really awkward up there, because my head's like this. It's just not great. So let's show you what I've done so far. So what we've done is I've knocked out another little hole down here and then rerouted the cable. So I'm going to have that hole there to fill, which is fine. Client's well aware of that. So now this cable here, you might not be able to see it very well, but this is actually Earthshore from Doncaster Cables. And in fairness, I completely forgot that I'd used this, and just as I was peeling it, I actually thought, oh, I haven't got any sleeving on me. And here we go, absolute game changer. I absolutely love Earthshore, and I'd completely, genuinely forgot that I'd actually installed that. So happy boy. So the idea is that we're going to mount that flat down onto there, and then the client can plug in whatever they want. Now, with doing it this way, that yes, we have got a double socket on here, but that is controlled by that fuse spur, and the fuse inside there will be a 3 amp, and we'll mark up or label up on the top of this socket for lighting purposes only. So as I said earlier on in the video, that we'll have to be mounting using, that's what I meant, a 3 amp cartridge fuse like that, okay? So we're going to get that removed out of there because they all come with a 13 ampere. So to remove these, if you didn't know, get your screwdriver in and gently turn it. And I doubt very much I've changed it already, but if you can see on there, we've got a 13 amp fuse, which is fitted as standard. We don't want that one. We want a 3 amp fuse, 3 or 5, but 3 will be more than enough because they're all LEDs that are going to go underneath. So we need to put that in. We've labelled up the top, and when she's activated, that will power up the socket at the top, which will mean the client will be able to do the rest of it all via their phone and remote control or whatever they want to buy. So another job done. Right, that leads me on to my next job. So as you can see that there's a row of downlights that are all illuminated except for when we get into the entrance hall. So this entrance hall, this one, above my head, had decided to stop working. And it stopped working, the client was saying, pretty much after I left. Strange, very strange. But these things happen, you have breakdowns on these lights, it is what it is. So what we're going to do, we're going to get on with changing those out. So it's a fairly straightforward job. So we're going to turn obviously the power off to make sure we don't get electrocuted, because that would suck. Then what we're going to do is get that all changed out. Now they have all got to be programmed. Now the problem is I haven't got the client's iPad, so I can't program it to come on. So at the minute they can colour change absolutely everything in this house. Anywhere where you see a downlight that's not in a bathroom, they can all be colour changed, and they can have a right little rave up if they want to. So let's get that light down and see if there's anything obvious that I've missed. Okay, so we've dropped the light down and we've checked for voltage. We've got voltage there. So obviously with these lights, from time to time, you know, it could be a poor installation. I might have done something wrong, but looking at that, we all look good to go. So it's more than likely just a faulty light fitting. So we're going to get that changed now. I'd just like to point out before I go any further, the power is off, is locked off, and we have no worries of somebody turning that on and giving me a little bit of a belt. Okay, so the light is now fitted, and it's going to pulse like that because it's now saying it's into a pairing mode. So the second you energize that, that's going to be in its pairing mode. Unlike these ones which are already paired, because obviously the light's just gone off and back on. So once you leave that on for a little while, it'll go back into its factory setting and it'll be classed as warm white, and it will stay illuminated. So as soon as you turn your light switch on, that one will stay on permanently, and we'll have to get the client to pair that up, which is fairly straightforward. So that's another one of the jobs done. So let's move on to checking out these LED bathroom cabinet lights. Now I'm going to take you upstairs and I'll show you what they're actually supposed to be like, because I'm pretty sure that the client said that in the master bathroom, that's okay, it all works fine, which is brilliant. So this is the actual light setup we've got. So there's a micro switch sensor at the bottom that when you wave your hand underneath, these are all illuminated, and also you've got your rainbow colour changing jazzy lights underneath, which you can change via a remote. But what is happening with the other ones, you see these ones, this one doesn't do anything. It's completely and utterly died and not good at all. So that's a real big problem because it doesn't work. And this one, which is in the new ensuite, when you put your hand underneath, it illuminates the sides, but doesn't do the bottom. So what we're now going to do, the bottom will come on, but with a remote, which is fine because it works. But the original one in the master bathroom, that's over 10 years old. So it might be that they've changed the programming slightly, which would mean that that is what it is. So what we're going to do before we go fitting them all up here, we're going to put a test rig on those ones downstairs to make sure that they are working properly and they are doing the same as the main bathroom. Because if they're like this one, then the customer's got to make a decision whether they want me to change those ones or not. So let's go get a little test rig made. So to make this test rig, what we're going to need is a standard plug, and we're going to have to downgrade again the fuse for this because this will come with a 13 amp fuse. So we need to downgrade it to, like I say, a 3 amp, 5 amp, something like that. We're going to need a little bit of flex, and then we're going to need some Wagos and a Wago box to make sure that all the connections are nice and safe. Because what we're going to essentially replicate is a power supply going straight to it before I have to mount it all up, because that would be really annoying if I go and swap them all over and it's actually exactly the same as the ones before. So this is what I find is the best way of doing it. All right, yes, it takes a little bit more time to do it right now, but in the long run, if they are not what the customer wants, then that's even worse, because I'm going to have to then take them all off, fit the old ones back so they've not got holes on the wall, and yeah, annoying. So let's get this made up. Okay, so that is the test rig made up, nice and straightforward. And before we energize anything, we need to make sure that we haven't got any singly insulated cables on show. Hence the reason why we're going to use a Wago box. But it's always good to have a little rig up like this made in the van, because as you can imagine, if you're doing a rewire, for example, you can rig this up for the boiler to keep the boiler on, and all sorts of stuff. But because obviously in the van, because we've changed all the van over, I'd left mine at home, and so thought I'd just make a new one. So we're going to get this mirror that's just down there. I'm going to get that all powered up, and we'll see what's happening with that one. Okay, so you might tell by my face that that is now illuminated because it is blinking and flashing away like we're having a rave party. So I've just turned it on, and what do you reckon? Do you reckon it's working the same as the ensuite or the main bathroom? Let's find out. Right, so clearly it is obviously upside down right now because we have got flashing lights on the top and they're supposed to be on the bottom, but we don't want to mess about too much, I think. So you wave your hand underneath and that illuminates the side and they go off. Back on, they go off. But these colour changing will be controlled by the remote control, which is what I thought originally when I said to the client that I think that it's just that's what's they're different now. Obviously, this is 10 years further on down the line, and this is the way they do it, which makes sense because they're going to use a remote control, because then you can change all the different colours, what you want going on. So that means now that I'm going to have to speak to the customer and ask what they want to do, because they want it so it all comes on together. Now, in my mind, I would say I wouldn't want that, because what I would want is, the whole point of the colour changing is because then you can set the mood in your bathroom. You know, cheeky. Set the mood with that and you can have it a bit more relaxing. You wouldn't really want the side lights on as well at the same time, because believe it or not, at night they're probably quite bright. But it's not my house, it's not my decision to make, and we'll leave them to argue that. But we've got the information we need. So as predicted, this one is exactly the same as that one. So these are two new ones. So I'm now going to ring the customer and find out what they want to do, because they're not all going to match. And yeah, so I don't know whether the first original lot 10 years ago, that is what they were, or whether they were faulty 10 years ago. Who knows? But in my mind, I think that these are actually a better unit because, like I say, you don't want to have them all blaring away, do you? So Who knows, but nothing ever seems to go straightforward. You know, when you're coming to the end of these big projects, there's always things that seem to just crop up and become your fault rather than, you know, it's just what it is. So, if I get out here alive, I'll be doing well. Okay, so we've had word from the powers that be, and we are now going to fit one of those units. Is going to be all sorted, and we're going to mount that into the ensuite, which is on the first floor, because we've figured out now, obviously, the brand new loft, new lights are sort of working, and the one in the main bathroom is just a complete thing. So obviously 10 years ago, they did things different. So we have now got a decision made, and now we're going to sort it. So also, we've now got a decision made on the lighting. So for the porch lights outside, we've got, so the outside lights, we've got some original Canon lights, I call them, up and down lighters. So these two were already mounted on the outside, and we weren't sure whether I could get another set. Although they're not particularly old, we didn't know whether to get another set. And thank the Lord, they've managed to have 2 more ordered in for me anyway, which I completely forgot about, which is a winner. And they can also order me a few more for the back. So that is, again, a bonus. So I've just spoke to the client, like I said, for this. And I said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to get the all the front done or the back? And the client has said, do you know what? Let's crack on with the front. Because when they come home from work tonight, it'll all be lit up absolutely glorious. So that's another job, but it does mean we're gonna have to jump in the van, go to the supplier and go and get some parts. Okay, so we're obviously in the van. I've just gotta make sure that I've got the parts here because obviously we've had these in the van for ages, ready for this job. So yeah, so I need to make sure I've got the photocell for the job. So what the plan is for here is we're gonna have obviously the outside lights, which are gonna go on here, and we're gonna fit the photocell up there. And that will then control all of these, because originally what happened is with the actual job, originally those 2 lights which were on, they were originally just controlled via the garage conversion when we did that a long time ago from a switch inside, which was fine. The customers, that's the way they wanted it. But as time's moved on, they don't want it there anymore. Okay, so we're going to go off to the wholesaler now, go and get these parts. Now, one of the issues we have is when these parts break down, who pays for this time? Because, like I say, I've got to get a few bits anyway, which is fine. But like this light now that's faulty, who pays for it? Who pays for the time? It's really irritating, but that's part and parcel of the job, I guess. So let me know in the comments below what you do with this situation. So fortunately enough, I've got to go and get a few more bits, which is great. But if I didn't, I had to come straight out. So what the customer wants now is it to be controlled via, like, say, the dusk till dawn sensor. Because at the time it was fine, they just wanted it, you know, they can control it by the switch, and they thought that okay. But as time's moved on, they find it really irritating, because what happens is they tend to forget it, they leave it on, and then what happens is they get themselves in the car, they start the car, go, and then they realise all the lights are on. So we're now going to make sure that is taken care of, and they just literally don't have to worry about it. Just leave it on and it's done. So we're just going to go off to the wholesaler now, go and get some more little bits and bobs, and yeah, get cracking. So if you're new to this channel, I really appreciate you clicking on. Out of the millions and millions of other channels you could have chose, you chose my one. So thank you very much. And if you're enjoying this so far, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. The link is in the corner, and yeah, help the channel to grow and build this amazing electrical community that we've got. Thanks. Okay, so I've been and fetched all my bits. I am suitably stuffed as well, so I've just eaten my lunch in the van. And now it's time to, do you want to go through the bits that I've ordered as well? So we've also ordered some downlights and stuff for another job. Also, on this job here, we've got some gravity grills that we need to put on. So the reason why they're called gravity grills is because naturally in the gravity, it shuts the lid. So we've got some of these to go on as well. I've got a 6-inch one for the extractor fan. And then these ones are for the kitchen cooker hood extractor fan. And then we've also ordered some other bits and bobs for here. So we've got an outside tap and some other bits and bobs that need to go on, but we're not going to do those today. So it's time to get my very full belly out and get these lights done. Okay, so it's extremely windy out here, so I apologise. for the audio. So effectively, we've got one of the old ones now. We'll put that on the outside. I've got 3 more to do across the front, which we'll sort out. So because it's windy, it's going to be a time lapse on, I reckon. I'd just like to point out that these are actually incredibly easy to fit. Straight up and down, cables all in the side, and then we're going to get on with sorting that light out up there, which is all for the dusk till dawn. But obviously it's very windy, like I said, and time lapse a go, I think. Right, so while I sat in the van and try and get out the wind, I can probably explain this a little bit better. So, as you just saw, I've got those up and down lights on. Fairly straightforward job, there's nothing too complex about it. Luckily enough, the renderers who did, obviously, the rendering, put some screw holes in and didn't cover everything over, so that saved me a bit of time, which is fantastic. So we're now getting onto the photocell unit, what we're going to fit, and because we're trying to make everything nice and small and discreet, as we should say. So we're going to use the Whisker 308 box in white. So these bits that come with it, just get rid of them, we don't need those. And then the really clever bit, what we're going to do now is by using the lid and a mini photocell, let's open that up. Because it's so small, what we're going to do, so because it's a really small unit, as we can get to all the wires, because all the bit there is the small section that all that head, we're going to drill a 20mm hole straight through here, and that is where that's going to sit through, and then obviously that will be mounted up on the side. And I think it's just such a neat job that I think that's the best way to go about it. So I'm going to drill that through now, and we'll do it in the van while I can actually, because it is literally so windy, so you probably can't hear me. And we'll get that fitted and you can see what it looks like. Okay, so we're back in. It's horrible out there. I say horrible, it's a nice sunny day, it's just a little bit on the old windy side. So we're going to use our 20mm hole saw, and obviously on the whiskers they've got a cross handily enough right all the way through, so we should be able to do that. So on here, take off that locking piece. Now you'll notice when you get hold of these is that they've got 2 rubber O-rings. So that rubber one will be on the back on that one, and then put this one over the face, fiddly, and that essentially is it. So that's what we do to mount that up, and that's all you'll see on the outside. Yes, could I have used a black one, but the majority of it is white, and I think that's just a better little finish. Got a little black dot on the outside. Spot on. Okay, so I've just powered up the lights now, so they've now got a permanent feed outside. And as you just saw, I've just managed to get the whisker box on nice and neat and all sealed up, ready to go. So let's go and test it. So it's always a little bit tricky when you're doing, trying to test these, because obviously you need to have them off. So what I'm going to try and do is use a glove to cover over the dusk till dawn sensor, and hopefully that activates it. So there we have the magical glove, and hopefully That should make enough of a difference to make these lights kick in. And just as well as I was going to give up on that and go and get another hat to put on the top of that, well, I'll let the lights do the talking. Here we go. So they are on. They're all on, all the way through. So I can take the glove down, and that is another one of the jobs done today. Ooh, fly in. Okay, so another job done. Boom, jackpot. So I've just changed over the mirror in here. Here she is. So mirror is done. Waving of the hand. She comes on, beautiful. And also, come on. There you go, boom, green. All on the remote, which matches up all of the other ones as well now. So another job done. Whew, winner. So I really, it's great really. In fairness, when you get these jobs and just try and track through and get them all sorted, it's when the customers say, oh yeah, there's another little thing. And so one of them was a radiator. There's a tiny little drip. And that was from the radiator valve, which I've now sorted. So it was a tiny little drip on there, and that's why they've just put their plastic bag there just to catch it. But so I've just nipped that up, and it's been there like that for, I don't know, an hour or something like that. Absolutely no moisture, so winner again. So one of the things that the clients have said is that they cannot, for love nor money, get these downlights in here to pair up to the app. And there is a very good reason for that. It is because it's absolutely miles away from the router. Now, in this house, there is a Wi-Fi network in here that needs to be going in. So the actual Wi-Fi booster should be just in the inside of there. And they haven't been done because of the clients just said, look, we'll just hold fire on that. Don't bother doing any of it. But they're not realizing that without those, it ain't gonna work. So there's a Wi-Fi booster to go up in that floor, which will take care of that nice and easy. And also inside on this first floor, there's another Wi-Fi booster to go in, obviously then hardwired back to this downstairs. So inside here is like the sort of utility area, I'd say. As you've seen from previous videos, she's tight. So we've got a little washing machine and stuff up there, and then we've got a loft section, which is here. We've got some floodlights and all the rest of it down here. But you will see there is a mass of cables, and also I've just fitted up a enclosure on there just because at the minute we had a Wago box down there while they were all painting it and all the rest of it. But up at the top here was where we were going to put a network switch to make sure that everything is all hunky-dory, all the cables are all out of the way, power source and all the rest of it. But we were told to hang fire, which is what we've done. But I imagine very soon that that is going to get sorted. Because you need to have a decent Wi-Fi signal for obviously to be able to pair it all up. Because without the Wi-Fi signal, it ain't going to work. So which is a bit of an issue really. So you can get Wi-Fi signal booster sockets, mouthful, I know. So you can get those, so we can do those in that way, but we've designed it to have a proper hardwired network to go up. So yes, there's loads and loads going on. So I've just got some grills to do for me today. So I'm going to get the rest of these grills on, which I'm going to show you outside. So obviously it's really windy, so we've got a grill to put on here for the extractor. No, it's not for the extractor, it's actually for the tumble dryer vent. So we've got one to go on there. There's one to go at the front of the property, and then there's one to go on the back. And this one here above my head, which is for the cooker. So I'm going to get this one done and that one done down there. I'm going to get those two done right now. And the reason why I'm going to get those two done and not the other two is because the lads have got to come and sort out some of the tiles, because where the scaffolders have been like chimpanzees all onto the roof, inevitably they break a few tiles. So the lads are going to come in and they'll sort all those out, because guaranteed if I go up there I'm going to break it, and if they go up there they're up there to fix them anyway. So we might as well crack on with those. And then that leaves me the outside lights on the back. As you know, at the very start of the video, I've ordered all those. So yeah, let's get those grills on and then we're out of here. Okay, so gravity grill's on. So as the extractor is on, the flaps go open like that. and obviously let all the steam out. So I've just done that one, and we've just got the one down here for the tumble dryer, which is just there. So that's it. So we're all done. I can't really do anything else now. So we're all sorted as far as I can do. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Like I say, if you haven't yet subscribed, please make sure you do. And I do genuinely really appreciate that you've watched this video. Yeah, we will see you on the next one.